The RAM crisis in the technology industry is impacting everyone across every facet of the world right now, and watching just a handful of companies completely control every single aspect of not only RAM but also fighting to hoard RAM in warehouses and do nothing with them has got to be one of the scariest things we've ever seen in the tech space in general. Seeing PC components rise exponentially by 300 to 400% in just a few months, watching every other PC component as well start to get price increases on top of that. This scarcity of VRAM and even GPUs being sent to AIB board partners without any VRAM at all is also a problem too. NVIDIA stating they're going to reduce the actual amount of GPUs available for consumers and customers by about 40% in 2026, and Micron literally leaving the entire consumer space and having that entire crucial brand out to dry to focus more on AI data centers has to be some of the craziest pieces of news that we've seen happen in the gaming space altogether this past year. But the thing is, though, it turns out that there are a group of people who think this is not going to impact them, simply because they feel that these multi-million-dollar corporations in gaming are going to be the one to take the loss of cost because they want to sell more consoles. No, I'm not kidding. You see, we talked about this for the past 7 months on the channel, confirming basically what's happening across the board between every other aspect that we've talked about, and also the impact this is going to be having on next generation hardware as well. More importantly, what the Steam machine could in fact be in the future, and how its importance in the gaming space could be bigger than what people actually believe, even though it's only got 8 gigabytes of VRAM available to you, because pretty soon that'll be all that you'll be able to afford. And the funniest thing about all of that is watching people truly believe in their heart of hearts that companies like PlayStation, Nintendo, and even Xbox and Microsoft are going to be absorbing the cost themselves in order to provide you a much more affordable option for consoles next generation. That has to be one of the funniest things I've ever actually heard. And if you don't believe me, take a look at this. According to the Game Post, saying this, they didn't plan ahead at all. Leaker Moore's Law is Dead says Xbox Series prices may increase again due to severe RAM shortages, with Microsoft reportedly telling partners the impact is coming very, very soon. With the article saying this, Microsoft didn't plan ahead at all, apparently. Moore's Law is Dead said in the video, if you still want an Xbox for some reason at their current pricing, those prices could go up soon, or supply could just simply dry up, because multiple sources of mine have apparently been warned by sales reps at Microsoft that this is going to affect the Xbox Series consoles very, very soon, sooner rather than later. Moore's Law is Dead also said, from what I've heard, Sony planned ahead and bought up gobs of RAM near the bottom of the pricing, and thus they should be fine for months, he said. They have plenty of GDDR6, at least that's what I'm told. Prices could go up eventually. I could see that happening next year, but there is a reason Sony is cutting PlayStation 5 pricing for Black Friday. Now, this is where I think things are going to get incredibly interesting. Do I think another price increase is going to happen to these consoles? Absolutely, but not for the reasons that people think they're going to happen. You see, this console generation, in my opinion, is going to last far longer than we ever actually expected, and we've seen this happen consistently over the years. And the reason why I say that is basically because of this. 7 months ago, Sony confirms PS5 now has more monthly players than PS4 for the first time since its launch. That's right, we're now seeing a new generation of console take itself 5 years in order to actually get ahead of the previous generation of monthly active users. I didn't say sales, I'm just saying the actual monthly active users moving from PS4 to PS5. It took 5 years to break that barrier. Yet at the same time, we've been seeing PlayStation and Microsoft do everything they possibly can to create more friction points in their path of consumers moving to upgrade to that next generation by going around and increasing the price of their consoles twice. Both of them did it, by the way, going around and also releasing a PS5 Pro model for $700, then raising the price of the Pro another $50 on top of that. Xbox raising the price of their console, which is insane to me in the first place, and then going around and also investing $80 billion into AI itself. So do I think that a RAM crisis is going to impact the actual price of consoles for this generation? Absolutely, you darn tootin' it will, simply because there's going to be a point where RAM is going to be more difficult to find, and seeing OpenAI just buy 40% of all the world's wafers and do nothing with it is exactly why it's going to keep happening. And then to make matters even worse, we just found out that Intel themselves gave millions upon millions of shares to Nvidia to then increase the value of their own stock too. So now nobody is safe, regardless of what company you try to use to make your actual electronic devices. But it turns out what we've been talking about with the Steam Machine is also going to be impacting consoles themselves in the next generation, because according to Insider Gaming, things are not going to be looking good. Insider Gaming tweeted this out yesterday, saying this: the RAM price increases could see next generation console releases delayed. Oh, what's that? The consequences of everybody's actions right now? Yeah, that's literally happening in this exact space. All the plans that people were talking about, all the issues people were trying to say, all the rumors going around. Oh, we're going to go ahead and get the PS6. It'll be a 5080 upon release. It's going to destroy everything in the first place. Xbox Magnus going to be $1,000. It's all coming to a head and all getting pushed back. While everybody was talking about the Steam Machine not having a price, nobody was able to go ahead and look for the forest from the trees and understand how this entire issue is impacting everyone in the tech space and everyone across the board. In fact, all this is going to get exponentially worse, because not only is a delay going to happen with next generation, more than likely a price increase will also be a part of that as well, because even Satya Nadella said it himself. They're sitting on tons of racks and hardware and servers, and they can't plug them in. So all these companies are buying up all this hardware to sit on it in their warehouses and do nothing with it, yet trade money back and forth for it consistently over time. But the thing is, though, what we're probably going to be experiencing isn't a new generation being pushed back a couple of years. What I think we're going to be seeing is a repeat of what we saw with the 360 and PS3. Basically just everybody keeping a console for the next 10 plus years. And of course, Insider Gaming's article says this: from what we've heard, the industry as a whole is concerned about RAM availability, as they should be, and what that is going to mean for mass producing consoles at a competitive price point, not only for the next generation, but it could also mean that yet more price increases for current generation consoles will hit us in 2026. So not only are we going to see a delay for next generation, we're also going to see a possible delay and price increase for all the consoles that we have right now. And I think that's going to be the craziest part about all of this. Usually, when consoles hit a certain life threshold, they begin to have their price lowered throughout time, simply because you hit a saturation point. That 100 million basically just gets capped. And the funniest thing about all of this is going to be watching everybody's look at this entire generation and say, well, you know what? I'm keeping my money and sticking to what they basically already have right now, simply because it's going to get too expensive to afford anything. We've already saw the damn break on $700 consoles. We saw it break again at $750 for the PS5 Pro, and now it's going to break a third time for every single console manufacturer. And in fact, this kind of looks like the best reason why Microsoft is basically pulling out of the entire thing in the first place. I mean, think about it. They have their own AI, they have their own cloud service infrastructure, they have Game Pass. Why are they going to sit there and sell you an $800 box that no one's going to buy and sit on a store shelf when they can convince you instead to go through and use their cloud service streaming infrastructure? Funny enough, though, they also have their own AI, which is Copilot, that they've dumped a ton of money into, basically around $80 billion, and are basically just forcing people to do that in the first place. Not only providing the solution, but to a problem that they themselves also helped create. Isn't that how fun things go? But there's more. Insider Gaming says RAM modules have increased in price by several 100% in the past few months due to the demand for AI. And with the pursuit of AI seemingly not going away anytime soon, RAM availability could continue to be a bottleneck. Or at the very least, the RAM shortage will mean that prices will continue to hike. It leaves console producers in a very tricky spot moving forward. And while consoles have traditionally been subsidized to a certain extent in the past, it seems like RAM availability and price increases will mean that the next generation of consoles, which were already believed to be much higher in price than previous generations, could be extortionate. And personally, it's going to absolutely be extortion in every sense of the word. These companies will not absorb any price or cost whatsoever to provide you a better experience or even a better beginning price. You're going to see a couple of things happen. My best bet is you're going to see another price increase for both Xbox, PlayStation, and even Nintendo Switch 2 as well, seeing as how the Switch 2 is basically manufactured by NVIDIA's chipset, and they sure do as fuck love AI. But with that price increase, you may also see a slowdown in sales and in gaming in general, not just because it's getting too expensive to play video games anymore, but we've also seen other major conglomerate and corporations talk about wanting to increase the price of games every single generation. Shawn Layden basically saying this himself, and don't worry, we're going to talk about him later on in the video too. But gaming is getting to be far more expensive than anyone actually imagined it to be, and that point of lower sales is in fact being proven. We saw in November from Circana that the amount of actual sales for hardware and games fell to an astronomical low point, more than that we actually had it back in 1995, one of the lowest points ever in video game recorded sale history. And that is a massive issue overall, where the collapse of gaming itself is not happening because of the industry on its own, but because of the fact that AI is taking up far more resources than anyone could have actually predicted in the first place. The loss of pure computing power is going to be happening to you across the board, and the tech you're going to be given is not going to be generational leaps and bounds like we've been seeing since the NES to what we have right now. It's going to be smaller incremental upgrades, basically meaning that getting the upgrade for the next gen is not going to be as grand as we normally had it before. And at the same time, if the visuals don't match or the frame rate isn't keeping up, but you're also charging people more money, there's going to be a whiplash, and that it's going to be even worse than people in fact actually expect. Now, Insider Gaming though also says this: from what we understand, the situation has led console manufacturers to debate whether the next generation of consoles should be delayed from their intended 2027 to 2028 release window, with the hope that RAM manufacturers will be able to build out their infrastructure to produce more RAM, thereby allowing prices to drop. Regardless of what happens though, it seems that the next couple of years could see the current gen consoles increase in price further. And I think you're totally going to be seeing that, like I said before. I think the bigger problem with all of this, though, isn't just the price increase that's going to happen. It's also going to be the blowback because of the price increase and the fact that people just simply can't afford to move on. This is where you're going to be seeing services and streaming and cloud become far more impactful in the first place, and also provide the user the reason and the better way of paying less money to play their games. And I put that in quotes simply because it's not going to be your game anymore. It's not going to be a physical product anymore. It's going to be a cloud subscription service, and Microsoft is pushing the forefront on this. We talked about this yesterday, how everybody was talking about how Microsoft failed the console gaming industry, how they lost terribly to PlayStation in the first place. Nobody wants an Xbox. Well, it turns out that if nobody can afford any console whatsoever or any hardware device whatsoever, the only thing people can afford is a sub-service. It looks like Microsoft is going to be the one standing there 10 toes down to provide it for you, even though, like we said, they're the ones who also were part of the problem of why this happened in the first place. It's almost like they just colluded the entire thing to begin with. Really makes you think. But I think what's also going to be happening is this: if sales of consoles begin to slow down like we saw back in November, and that trend continues while prices increase and people do not move over from PS4 to PS5 or just buy new consoles in general, what's in fact going to happen? Well, in my opinion, you're going to be seeing a lot of these companies and studios and all these other places like PlayStation and Nintendo possibly even start moving their games over to other pastures to then start cross-pollinating and gaining more revenue over time. If the hardware doesn't sell, then the games have to sell, and I think that's what's going to be the big thing moving forward. And you can call me crazy all you want, but basically Helldivers is on Xbox. Death Stranding is on Xbox. Every game is basically going to be moved to PlayStation from Microsoft, and PlayStation also loves putting their games onto PC. So seeing this quote from Shawn Layden the other day really was a bit of a head scratcher. Stealth on Twitter said this: former PlayStation executive Shawn Layden doesn't think exclusives are going anywhere, saying, quote, "I don't think every game has to be a console exclusive. I don't think every game should be console exclusive, but I do accept the fact fact that if you're going to have platform companies like Sony and Nintendo, there is a huge value to the brand in having strong exclusives. If Mario starts appearing on PlayStation, that's the apocalypse. And the same goes for Nathan Drake and Uncharted. They make the platforms sing. There will be some exclusive titles in the future. And of course, in my opinion, Shawn Layden is wrong. What you're going to be looking at is not about exclusivity for consoles and platforms. What you're going to be looking at are basically every single other company going around and saying, our systems aren't selling because they're too expensive. We have to guide them over to our cloud infrastructure. We have to have a better service overall. And that's what's going to have people sign up for those services. And I know the blowback immediately is going to be, well, Alex, if you have exclusives in your service, that's why you subscribe. When you sign up for Netflix, it's because it has exclusives. That's really not going to be a viable case, because what you're looking at are people signing up for 1 or 2 months and then canceling their sub service after they watch the show. So exclusive may have gotten them one more user during the actual run, but once that show's over, people in fact don't stay. That's also why you see massive amounts of piracy happening across streaming services continually happen over and over again, especially online, where the company doesn't make any money at all and there is no more exclusive. These companies want to make every piece of money they possibly can. And if the point of trying to have exclusivity in some fashion was how to make consoles sing, then explain to me why PlayStation is doing their own 6/7 sale on Steam right now, where around 90% of all the actual games you can buy on a PS5 are on PC. So really, what exclusive is Shawn Layden even fucking talking about? They don't exist. They're antiquated. There's really nothing there for anyone to go through and say, why am I going to spend $750 on a different platform for 1 or 2 games? And if a price increase does happen, it'll be even more dramatic. Why would anybody spend $800 on a new platform for 1 or 2 games to then go around and collect dust? We're not talking about an era where people had more money than sense. We're talking about an era right now where people don't even have the ability to pay for their own mortgage or even their own light bill because of the fact that AI data centers are causing everything to skyrocket and the prices being placed onto the actual consumer and customer. This is absolutely going to get far worse than it does before it gets better. And you're going to be seeing a lot of plays being made very quickly in the first place. You can bet your sweet bippy you're going to be seeing more games hit more platforms from other publishers. And maybe even at some point, you might even see Nintendo put their game onto PC, and dare I say, even Xbox or PlayStation. Oh no, simply because Xbox called this out long ago. There is going to be a specific market cap for people buying consoles, and they basically called it. It's around 100 million. And the thing is, companies have to see the number go up. But if the prices go up and the costs go up and the sales don't, well, then you're looking at a real problem in the first place. And the only way to increase that amount of sales is to increase your reach. And when they do, they'll keep putting those games on other platforms because they'll sell, because people don't want to spend $800 on a device. They don't want to spend that money in the first place. They'll either sign up for the cloud services or they'll just stay where they are. And you're seeing that happen right now. And AI is impacting everything far more and in a far greater space. And even then, moving things exponentially forward in a far more rapid pace than you ever, in fact, imagined. This is 2020, but on steroids, because now we have every company working together to do it, and they're all pushing in the same direction. I absolutely am incredibly worried for the next generation of consoles and even hardware from the PC space. Hopefully, the Steam machine is not priced astronomically outrageously, because if it's not, I'm definitely going to be getting one, because that may be the last bit of actual proper computing power you'll have as an actual customer and consumer without breaking the bank on a consistent basis. Because watching these companies raise the floor of pricing and then blame you for it while going around and taking money behind their back from Nvidia and everybody else really goes to show who's running this entire industry. Get ready for the $999 console. And if you can't afford that, sign up to your cloud service infrastructure so that way you can play your games on everything being an Xbox. Now, does that marketing campaign make more sense to you? Now are you finally picking up what they were putting down? This whole thing wasn't about console wars. This whole thing was a plan that Microsoft was putting into motion from the very beginning. And now it looks like everybody else might have to play catch up. But you know what? Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments section down below. Do you think exclusives will still be happening in the next generation of consoles? Do you think we're going to be seeing a $1,000 device? Or do you think people are going to start moving to the cloud gaming sphere as well? Because that could be a far more cheaper alternative than what we have right now. I want to hear what you guys have to say. If you want to see more of this kind of content though, more PC port reviews, gaming news, Steam Deck videos, fanboy content, and even live streams every Saturday night, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, subscribe to the channel. If you want Discord access or most during live streams, become a YouTube member. It's as low as $1. If you don't want to spend the buck, don't sweat it. Just come on down Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, live right here on the channel as I wear a banana suit and get insulted by 800 people with AITTS. Trust me, it's a hell of a show. Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, live right here on the channel. You don't want to miss it. With all that being said, though, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you Gooners next time. Peace!